All right, so first, before we get started with the phase permitting workshop, we will introduce our presenters today. There's myself, Shannon McEwen. I'm the manager of building permits, and I manage the Permit Application Center division of the building department. We also have Dana Margarita. She's the assistant manager of building permits, and she manages the plan submittal, for intake team, customer service, fee workup, permit issuance, and addressing in the PAC division. We also have Bida Ibrahimi and Ava Arroyo. They are our assistant management assistants, and they assist us with a variety of duties along with preparing this workshop and keeping us organized. Tarek and Michael Terzic aren't going to be presenters today, but I asked them to attend so that they can help us at the end when we do Q&A. We have Tarek Shalani's assistant manager of plans examining, who manages the commercial plans examiners. And then we have Michael Terzic. He's our fire protection engineer. He reviews life safety plans and reports for the building department. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn over the presentation to Dana.
Good afternoon, everyone. So what is a Clark County Building Department phase project? The phase design building program was created to allow permits to be issued in phases for complex facilities. Phase permits are processed for the construction of part of a building or structure before the construction documents for the entire building or structure have been submitted or accepted. Phase projects do not apply to amusement attractions or tenant improvements. The project valuation must exceed 50 million, or the construction must take longer than 18 months from foundation to certificate of occupancy. The construction documents submitted with the permit application must show compliance with the requirements of the building administrative code and the technical codes. The applicant shall proceed at their own risk, since the issuance of one permit does not ensure a permit for the entire building or structure will be approved. Authorization and approval must be obtained by the building official for the phase design and the building program. Consideration will be given to size, complexity, construction schedule, and other related factors to determine if the phased permitting approach is acceptable. Authorization must be obtained prior to submitting any phased building permit application or documents. Please note, when we talk about a building or structure, this could also include service equipment required for operations of the building, such as central plants. We also understand there are different definitions used for phased permitting, and it can often cause confusion. So for example, if you are working on a project that has 4 buildings and you are constructing building 1 and building 2 in phase 1, then constructing buildings 3 and buildings 4 in phase 2 of your project, and you are permitting the entire building under one permit, this is not phased permitting per Clark County Building Department's definition. Okay, Shannon, next slide. Okay, what's the process to get Clark County Building Department authorization and approval? To get approval for a phased project, first we require a pre-submittal meeting. To set up a pre-submittal meeting, please call 702-455-8011 to talk to an administrative staff member who can help get this meeting set up. Attendees should include the project owners or representatives and the designers of the project. Building department staff will include plans exam staff for architectural, structural, geotechnical, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, along with inspection staff if applicable, and we can also include Clark County zoning and fire prevention if necessary. The pre-submittal meeting will be a collaboration or building block for all attendees to decide if phase permitting is best for the project. After the meeting, if it is decided to move forward as a phased project, a phase design, application, and schedule will need to be submitted to the building department for review and approval. Once the phase agreement is approved, phase permits can be submitted. We do allow for the phase agreement to be revised as long as it stays within the project description. We understand changes may be necessary, and we are here to facilitate and help your project to a successful completion. There are advantages and disadvantages of going phased. The advantages are the code year is locked in, which means if there are code updates while the project is under construction, the project is not required to be redesigned to the new codes. Phase permitting allows for buildings to be split up into multiple permits, including foundation, structural build out. Foundation first lift permits can be approved prior to full offsite as long as you have land use approval. So you'll want to make sure you let your planner know this will be a phase project and you'd like to start work prior to the offsites being approved by Public Works. There is a dedicated phase team to assist you through the permitting and plan review process, so we are here to help. The plan review and permits do not expire after the 180 days of inactivity. And you only have to submit one life safety package for the entire project. Now, the disadvantages are the first review is 42 calendar days, so it's a little bit of a longer review time. And the plan review fees are 80% of the permit fees instead of 65. So it is a little bit more, more cost to the plan review fees.
All right, thank you, Dana.
You're welcome.
All right, I'm going to talk a little bit about some examples of phased permitting. As you can see on the slide here, I've provided two different examples. One of a typical phased permitting construction schedule. It's a little more simple. And then another of a more complex phased permit construction schedule. As you can see here on the typical phase permit, your first submittal package would be your life safety package. And that would include your fire protection report, egress and smoke control if applicable. Everything life safety related would be submitted under this permit package. So if you needed to revise a fire protection report or your egress throughout the life of the project under construction, or with each phase permit submittal, you would submit it under this one number. This makes it easier for everybody because you know where to find it and you're not looking for that updated fire protection report that's, you know, under a certain phase permit and having to go to multiple permit numbers to find everything life safety related. And then the second permit application for phase would be foundation. But please note, before you can submit your foundation permit, you'll need to have your grading permit submitted first. And any type of on-site electrical and plumbing you'll want to have in place as well, those site improvements. Then the second phase would be your structural steel frame of the building. And then finally, a full build out, which would achieve your certificate of occupancy once you've gone through all the inspections and received your final inspection. We'd like you also to list on your phased agreement related non-phase permits that we need to be aware of as you're going through the phased permit process. And as you can see here, we have early grading, final grading. Maybe you have a demolition that happens before you start grading the site, pools, signage. These type of permits, we don't have them be phased because they don't really need that extra review time or that extra fee. They're still a pretty simple standard permit, and you're not breaking out that one building permit into multiple permits. The second example we have over here is a more complex phase permit construction schedule. I tried to color code it here to help follow along, but in one of this type of projects you've got the life safety package, and then there were 3 different buildings, a garage, a podium, and a tower. For this phased construction schedule example, there was a garage foundation permit with your underslab electrical and plumbing, and then we did not need to break out a structural steel frame package. They just did the structural, architectural, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing in a full build out permit. So that garage building was only phased into 2 permits, as you can see here in green. Then we had a podium and a tower. The podium and the tower shared a foundation with underslab electrical and plumbing. But then when we got to structural steel frame, we separated them out. So we had a podium structural package and a tower structural package, followed by a separate podium build out, which would receive a certificate of occupancy, and a separate tower build out, which would receive a certificate of occupancy. And then we had our central plant building, which did not need any phasing. And so it was just submitted under one permit, but we still added it to the phased permit construction schedule as those buildings were reliant on that central plant. Just like the other simple example, we would have our related non-phase permits, early gradings, final gradings, on-site electrical, and on-site plumbing. Every phase project is different and unique and has its own complexity. So these are just examples. There isn't a textbook way you have to list your phase permitting, just what works for your project. And we will have that pre-submittal meeting with you so we can discuss it together and give you some guidelines, listen to, your project and figure out what's best for how you're going to do your permitting. So you're getting ready you got your application and schedule form. You're going to fill it out and submit it to us after this pre-submittal meeting. The first page of the phased design application and schedule form is pretty general. You're going to give us the project scope. Maybe you're going to tell us what the square footages are, how many buildings you're going to have, just the whole project, what that scope might look like, describing that project to us. Then you would provide the estimated project start date and the estimated completion date. We're not going to hold you to these dates, but this really helps us to try to keep your project in schedule for you and to know when those submittals are going to come in so we can keep an eye out for them. Then you're going to just give us the project name, the project coordinator, the address of the project, parcel number, and cross streets. We also want to know who will be applying for the permits that has a citizens access account. Now that we're electronic, you have to have a citizens access account to apply for permits. So we would like to know who that applicant is going to be. Sometimes it's the same person as the project coordinator, and that's fine. But sometimes it's not. Maybe the project coordinator has an assistant that's going to be applying. And then the bottom part of this page is for the building department use. Once we've reviewed the application and schedule, we will approve it here, giving our name and title and signature. The second page of the design application and schedule, you're going to list your project name again up at the top. And then there's going to be a large scale number that Clark County Building Department staff is going to assign, and we're going to write up at the top. And that is not a permit. It's just a project number where all of the phased permits will be related under it. And it just helps us with some of the programming that we do for those individual phased permits. When you see here, you'll fill out the different phase permits that you're going to have. The very first one, again, should be your life safety permit. If you don't have that application number already, that's perfectly fine. Usually you don't. When you're filling out this application, just leave it blank. And when it's submitted in and we have that application number, we can handwrite it in. Provide us with the estimated date that you're planning to submit it, the target permit date with a life safety package. That target permit date is going to move all over the place. So if you're not really sure there, you could just put in a life safety package is also not going to have evaluation or square footage because it's just reviewing the reports and the egress plans. Then you'll, list each other phased application that you plan on submitting for the project. So when you are submitting for your foundations and your structural steel frame, we do need to see evaluation over here in the right column. You might not have a square footage for that particular phase. Again, that's okay. Just put in most likely your build out is going to give us that square footage that we're going to put on your certificate of occupancy. Then you'll see down in the bottom right of this particular page, it says adopted code year. This is a fillable section here. Right now we're under the 2018 family of building codes. So if you were to submit in a phase design application and schedule now, you would be locked into those codes and not have to midstream of your project move over to 2024 codes, which are going to be required starting in January. So you would list out the codes there. 2018 IBC, 2017 NEC, and right now we're on the 2021 IECC. So just listing them out, it just notates it in this agreement that gets approved. And then that way you know that you're locked into those codes. The third sheet is just going to list your related non-phased permits. This is helpful to us and everybody just to know what those permit numbers are so we can refer to them. We don't really need the valuations on this particular page for those because they'll go through the standard permitting process. And then finally, the fourth page of the design application and schedule, you're going to list here, just give us, I don't need your entire project team, like if you have multiple architects or project managers, but basically the main ones, so we know who they are. We would like to know who the architect is. We would like to know who the engineers are, your structural engineer, your fire protection engineer, your project manager, your soils engineer for your soils reports, and if you have some third-party agencies that you'd like to note here, you can do that as well. Once we've reviewed this design application and schedule form and we've deemed it to be approvable, that could be some communications a little bit back and forth between us and you. We'll get it figured out. Don't be worried about having your first application being perfect when you submit it to us. It's definitely fine to say draft, and then we can review it and come back to you with any questions that we have until we can both come to a perfect agreement to get it approved. But once we're able to approve it, we're going to also tell you who your assigned plans examiners are going to be. And this is helpful for you so you know that your architectural plans examiner, for instance, is Tarek. And he's going to be the examiner on all of your phased permits for consistency's sake. And then you just have those contacts and their emails along with it. When you've completed your application, you can email it to phasedprojects@clarkcountynv.gov or email it to whoever was at your pre-submittal meeting from the phased projects team. If they say just email it to me directly, you can do that as well. Wanted to mention to you that here soon we are going to move to electronic processing for that phased design agreement and schedule. I'm thinking that it should be live within the month. We're really close to getting it approved through our IT division. So here's just a quick preview of what that would look like. You would sign into the Citizens Access portal just like you do with any other permit, but we would have this new selection under commercial building permits / plans required at the very bottom, and it's called large scale project. You would select that, and as you go through the screens, fill out your address, your applicant information, basic project information. You'll come to the next screen where you would upload documents. And here is where you would have to upload your phased project application schedule. We made it a requirement. And you could also submit a document. The document isn't required because not all phased projects feel like they need to have a supporting document to go along with their phased project application schedule. But sometimes they do. Maybe it's a very complex phased projects and you want to provide us with an exhibit or just some other kind of basic plan, maybe a site plan calling out what each building is, whatever it may be that you think would be helpful in submitting it with the application and schedule. And maybe it's even something we've requested in your submittal meeting or as we reviewed your phased agreement to help us understand it and the plans examiner as we start reviewing those permits when they come through. And you, with this application here, you will get that large scale number. So instead of us writing it at the top right of your phased design and construction schedule agreement, for short, phased project agreement, you will know already what it is and you can write it on there. Then after you got your large scale number and your application's approved, when you're submitting in your phased permits, You will be asked in the electronic submittal process if you're a phased project or not. You would say yes, and if you say yes, then you have to enter in your large project number because that is your approved phased agreement number, and that lets us know that you're phased. It also helps us put that permit in a link to your large project number to set some of that scripting and programming I talked a little bit about, that, electronic behind the scenes. And it also puts it into the phased project team's work filter so that we are alerted it's separated from all the other standard permits that are being submitted in, and we know we have a new phased permit for our review. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn over to Dana so she can talk to us about phased permit fees.
Thank you, Shannon. So the phased permit fees are based on the project valuation, which is approved with the phased agreement. If over the course of the project, the valuations change for any reason, a revision to the phased agreement will be required. As we previously mentioned, the plan review fees are slightly higher for phased projects, so they are 80% of the permit fees instead of the 65%. And the plan review fees for the sub-trades are 35% of the electrical, mechanical, and plumbing permit fees instead of 25%. The zoning plan review fees stay at 10% of the permit fees. Another advantage that we didn't mention earlier is that the phased permitting team can assist with calculating permit fee estimates if needed. We have a fee estimate worksheet that we can fill out for your project, which will include the fees for each permit. So here's an example of the fee estimate worksheet. The fee estimate worksheet will include the plan review and permit fees, the electrical, mechanical, and plumbing plan review and permit fees, along with the zoning plan review fees and impact fees if applicable. Now, impact fees include your residential or commercial transportation tax, depending on whether it's a residential or commercial project. If it's residential, it'll also have park fees. And these impact fees are typically charged either on the core and shell permit or with the build out permits. Express fees. We mentioned that the projects have a 42-day review time for the first review. So if you need a quicker turnaround time on that first review, you can apply for an express plan review. The express plan review time will be established with the approval of the express application. Express plan review fees are based on the entire project's valuation when determining the express fees will be either 4 times, 3 times, or 2 times the normal plan review fees. If the total phased project valuation is between 50 and 100 million, the express plan review fees are 3 times the normal fee. If the project valuation is over 100 million, then the express plan review fees will be 2 times the normal fee. But that's just in determining, how many times the plan review fees are charged. The actual fees charged are based per permit are based on the valuation of the individual permit. Zoning express fees will be 4 times the normal zoning plan review fee, regardless of the valuation. And if you anticipate needing to express any of the permits, let us know and we can add the express fees to the fee estimate for the project.
Dana, there's also been some case scenarios, a little rare, where we've even had to revise the fee estimate as well, just because of some of the phased permits were revised as construction commenced, and we're capable of doing that as also.
Of course. So the ways to pay. So payment for plan review and permit fees can be made via the Citizens Access portal using an electronic check or credit card. We can also accept in-person checks and credit card payments if arrangements are made to ensure that we're available to take the payment in person. In-person payments for issuance of permits require the check or credit card to be from the contractor of record. We understand that sometimes there are arrangements where the ownership or the third party will be responsible for the payment. And if that's the case, then we'll require a check authorization letter from the contractor. This check authorization letter is our confirmation that the contractor is aware that there's going to be an owner check or a third-party check being used to pay for the permit. Another option is setting up a trust account. There's an application that needs to be filled out and emailed to our finance division. Finance's email is bdfpfinance@clarkcountynv.gov. Deposits, a trust account, what it is deposits are made into the trust account, and then those funds can be used to pay for plan review and permit fees through the Citizens Access portal. The trust account application can be found on our website, or you can reach out to the phase permitting team or our finance division for a copy. We also accept wire transfers. This form of payment is coordinated with our finance division. You will need to contact finance to get our banking information that the wired funds will be transferred to. Finance also asks that you contact them to let them know when the wire transfer has been posted and what permit you would like to apply the payment to.
Sorry, one other quick little note here on this one, because I just thought of it, Dana. If you have the wire transfers and say you paid for a permit and something changed and you needed a refund of it, then it has to go through a lengthy refund process that we have that goes to our Board of County Commissioners for approval, and it can take up to 6 weeks. So we recently had a project that was using wire transfers per the owner's request, and they ran into that situation. If they would have had a trust account, then we could have just taken the money that they paid out of their trust account and just put it right back in, and it could have been much quicker. So I understand sometimes you just have to do it as a wire transfer, but keep that in mind that with a trust account, it does just make it a lot easier. And of course, at the end of the project, if there's a balance, you just can request that to be returned to you. And thank you, Dana. So once all the phased permits have received final inspection and they are in a closed approved, a closed CC, CC standing for certificate of completion, or closed CO, certificate of occupancy status, the project is complete and we will close the file and move it to our records. Just want to mention to you this workshop here is really just high level, what phased is, how to apply for it, how to get started. But we do plan to in the future have some additional phased workshops to where we can go over more detailed topics such as plan review and inspection items and as they pertain to phased projects. Just a small little disclaimer here. The information that we've shared today, it's current at the time of this presentation, but we're always trying to make improvements to our processes or our forms or our how-to guides. We listen to all of our customers' feedback. So if this live workshop that's being recorded is, over a year old or so, it could be out of date a little bit, and we've had some enhancements, such as we might, already be live with the electronic process of the application, for instance. So always just keep up to date with the information on our programs, updated forms and such on our website. And then here's is a link to different portions of our websites and our codes, including our YouTube channel, CCBD live workshops, and some of our sister departments we work closely with, the fire department, comprehensive planning, and public works. If you want a copy of this presentation in a PDF form, we're happy to give that to you. You can contact our customer service team at packenter@clarkcountynv.gov, or you can call them at 455-8972. Give it a day. Beta and Ava, put it all together in a nice package after this recording and convert it to PDF. So give it a day before you make that request that they could send it to you. And with that, let's go ahead and stop the recording, and we'll go live with our question and answer session.